museum in North America. There's nothing quite like it. And when we go in the governor's house, you'll see ropes and things. We have priceless antiques and textiles on display. We ask you not to touch anything because of that. Give them a can at cookware and cabinet maker. They have items, beautiful items you can touch and explore. So be sure to go and see them on Nicholson Street. And there's even a hopsicle you can play at the cabinet maker. But I want to thank you for joining me for this story about the 8th of June here in Williamsburg today. Everyone's woken to the unbelievable truth that the royal governor and his wife and his children and some of his servants left the palace last night in fear of their lives. They left, and you'll see as we go through the rooms, they left just the clothes on their backs. They removed nothing. They left in such a hurry. And our royal governor, John Murray, 4th Earl of Dunmore, he had a ball in January celebrating his victory over the Shawnee in the Ohio country last year. People greatly admired him and were happy for his safe return and happy about the birth of his new baby, named after the colony, Lady Virginia. She was born in December. Happy to celebrate Queen Charlotte's birthnight, and now he's running for his life, and he's the most hated man in Virginia. And how does he fall from grace so hard and so fast? We're all trying to reconcile that in our minds, and we have to think back to Massachusetts a year and a half ago. Anyone from the great Massachusetts Bay Colony? We all recall, though, the incident of the tea, the destruction of the tea in Boston. And the king closes the port of Boston, declares Massachusetts in rebellion. He sends an occupation force of soldiers and warships. Sends a shockwave up and down colonies. And in Virginia, our House of Burgesses, when they find out people in Boston are starving, people are being thrown out of their homes, literally out of their beds, soldiers taking over their property, billeting in their homes. They declare a day of fasting and humiliation and prayer all across the colony. And Lord Dunmore finds out about that. He goes to the session down at the Capitol, interrupts that day's session. You could not declare a day of prayer for a rebellious colony. Someone who's going against the law of the land, going against the crown and our king. You are dissolved. You no longer represent your counties. We will have an election when I come back from the Shawnee Nation and the Shawnee lands in the Ohio country. We will have new representatives who will do a new government. Pardon me. He leaves. Oh my goodness, it's a book. He leaves, but the Burgesses do not leave. They go down to the Raleigh Tavern. They agree to elect members to a committee of safety and committee of correspondence, stay in touch with New England and learn what is going on with his occupation force from Great Britain. They also elect delegates to the First Virginia Convention, and they meet illegally and in secret. They elect delegates to the Continental Congress, meeting in Philadelphia just last fall, illegally. Parliament has banned anyone being elected to delegates of that Congress, but send people anyway. Patrick Henry stands up at that Continental Congress, our delegate from Virginia, and he says distinctions between Virginians, Pennsylvanians, New Yorkers, and New Englanders are no more. I am not a Virginian, but an American, and we must form a defense posture in the event of civil war with Great Britain. Arm your men aged 16 to 60, form independent companies. We must be prepared unless the king sends occupation forces up and down the colonies. We must defend our rights as Englishmen, rights and liberties that we are entitled to as Englishmen. There it is. So that tells us we have room, because there's been a lot of people in town going through the governor's house and it's empty. We have room now. We can go into the governor's house. Let's go and see the governor. Let's go to him. Come in, come in. This is the entry hall of the governor's house. This home and this palace represents the Empire of Great Britain. As Englishmen, aren't we proud to be under the protection of King George III, his power and might protecting us? Please come forward so others may enter and go take a look in the pantry. Valuable spices and sugar have been left unguarded. Our items are so valuable to gold in here. And just sir, we have no equipment, they are gone.
I'm sorry.
Well, there are over 55 slaves of this household. Several dozen of them that started there. Number down this morning, they were scattered almost in part of the palace. Here's probably the other they may be sold for the effects of this house. There's much confusion and fear. And the governor left in such a hurry last night. These very guns that he used in his war with the Shawnee, he left them behind. Our king's representative running for his life. Were any of you here at the storming of the palace in April? No. I must tell you, because that, many believe, is the beginning of bad choices for our governor and other people. The people in Williamsburg will never forget that day. Lord Dunmore, when he came back from the Shawnee country, had a directive from his minister of state to secure gunpowder coming into the colony. Massachusetts Bay was already in rebellion, and there was dissension up and down the colonies. He took that one step further. He got the key to the magazine. He ordered his Marines from the Magdalen, anchored off of James River, in the James River near Burwell Landing, to remove gunpowder that's already in the magazine, let alone anything that may have been imported in the coming months. He went ahead and had the gunpowder belonging to the people of the colony of Virginia and the people of Williamsburg. He had it removed one April morning just a few weeks ago. 15 half kegs of gunpowder stored for our safety and security. The alarm was set. They were discovered before they got out of town. Drums were beating. The Bruton Parish Church bell was ringing. People gathered at the courthouse. Folks, if you'd like to step out, you're welcome to. People gathered at the courthouse. The Virginia Garrison Regiment, mustered, guns, swords, decided to storm the palace. Coming up Palace Green, they were going to confront their royal governor, their royal authority, to get the gunpowder back. And all the while, Lady Dunmore and the children are above stairs preparing for their day, and they see several hundred angry people coming towards their home. But they're stopped before they get through the gate. Peyton Randolph, a highly respected, honored man in our community and in the colony of Virginia and in America. He's the first president of the Continental Congress that met in fall. He's our Speaker of the House of Burgesses. Our Mayor, John Dixon, and Robert Carter Nicholas, our treasurer, stopped the crowd. And when Peyton Randolph speaks, people listen to him. Calm yourselves. Virginians do not behave like an angry mob. Go back to your homes. Colonel Ennis, disband your garrison. We will get the gunpowder from the governor. And when he speaks to the governor and they go home, and it seems like calm will prevail, their answer is, Lord Dunmore will not get the gunpowder back. Why? The magazine. It's not the safest place to store the gunpowder. There have been slave uprisings in recent weeks. Slaves may seize upon the gunpowder, It is safer stored on the Magdalene than it is in the magazine. You can get it within 30 minutes if you need it. And several days following that, courier comes down the Duke of Gloucester Street, or Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts. Militiamen and the King's men firing upon each other in a battle over gunpowder. Well, it almost happened in Williamsburg. And when the governor finds that out, that militiamen firing on the King's men, and what has happened and the threat to his family and the prior days before that, he arms the palace. 2 guns on the gates, Marines, and guns at each door. And they should feel safe. They're guarded, they're protected by the King's men, but they must not have they left last night. Okay, I promised you would be able to see the bedchamber of a royal governor. Now please, do my example as we go above stairs. Single file, steady up the stairs. We'll all get up there safely. If you use the staircase rarely. And last night, their brothers, Lord Fincastle, the presumptive heir, and will be the 5th Earl of Dunmore. He's 12. Alexander, who's 11, and John, who is 10. They were up in the room last night. They've been at College of William and Mary, studying their Latin and Greek and their mathematics, but Lord Dunmore removed them from the grammar school several days ago. They were all wakened in the middle of the night, and they were taken to a man-of-war ship, Bowie, at Yorktown. They left with just the clothes on their backs, but they left behind this beautiful silk ball gown. Lady Catherine wore it in January. It was her coming out ball. And if they do return to England, they'll be able to replace silks and ball gowns and things. But our good ladies and gentlemen here, our finery, our shoes, our clothing, our supplies, we must be very diligent and very careful with our silks and our clothes. The shelves at Mr. Greenhouse store, Mr. Tarpley, why Mary Dickinson, her shelves are empty of fabrics. And Mr. Prentice, all because we're not importing goods from Great Britain. We're sending a message to the King that we will suffer as the people of Boston suffer until that port is opened up and those starving colonists are relieved and allowed to return to their homes and property. And John Prentice, have you been to his store down Duke of Gloucester Street? A very fine merchant. He had ordered a shipment of goods earlier in the year last year, and it came after the agreement was made to not accept imports. Well, he took it upon himself to go to Yorktown. He went aboard the ship, and he threw his tea order into the York River. And when he returned to Williamsburg, he was met with angry neighbors. Why, you will have the King's men down upon our heads. How could you do such an illegal act? What were you thinking? And many people admired him for his courage to show his convictions and his sympathy for the people of Boston. And many people didn't care one way or the other. I can't afford to buy tea. I'm just trying to live. I'm just trying to grow a turnip. I'm just trying to put food on my table and protect my cows and my children and my property. And they left in such a hurry. I see an old friend they left behind. Do you see the old friend? Any of you? Well, she's sitting over there. That doll belongs to Lady Susan. It's given to her by her big sister. It was passed on to her by her bigger sister. She is an old favorite in the Murray family. They left in such a hurry last night, they left her behind. An old friend will not be easily replaced. Now we're going to go into the family room. And I want you to, as you cross the room to the bedchamber of the royal governor and his lady, to take a look down Palace Green and get the view that Lady Dunmore had the morning that a mob came to her house to demand the gunpowder. And we're going to pass Lady Dunmore's dressing table. Take a look down Palace Green. And go and look at the bedchamber of a royal governor. When you return to your homes, you can say you've been to Virginia and you've seen royalty where a royal governor has slept.
Going through there.
And you see the view that Lady Dunmore had as she was sitting at her dressing table that day in April. A mother of 7 children, a young wife, a husband, and a household to be responsible for. Almost 100 servants. Some of those servants have been with the Murray household for years. They've brought them from Scotland and England.
Everybody go over here. Okay. Go into the ballroom.
Let's go. Shoot, let's go.
This is where they had supper in January. This is where they fixed it out last night. Lady behind was fine silver candelabras. They might could have used those on the worship for light.
Right now we play a duty call for you called Ceasefire. Anybody guess what that would tell a soldier to do? Stop fire. Yeah, stop fire.
Hey.
Are there any questions for us about our instruments or what we do in the regiment?
Drill sergeant for the next 3 years. That means I'm going to teach you how to use a musket. As you can see, we don't have real muskets for you to use. Main reason for this being, I don't quite yet trust you with real muskets. The other reason being, the majority of our muskets are over at Anderson's Armory getting repaired. Now when I give you the word to disperse, you will quickly grab a training musket from the rack and go back to your position. Company, disperse!
Okay, if you go get one.
Quickly, recruits, quickly!
You don't want to? Cameron's going to. You can train how to do it? Get one, Sean. Come on, here, I'll hold the map.
I did say quickly, recruits.
Okay, well, Sean, get back here. Cameron, get in line.
The rest of you recruits, join them. Join the line, grab a training musket and join the line.
Lucky or fish. Also, every day we receive a pound of flour and sometimes rum rations if we're lucky. And when we receive in the camp, when we him and myself are the fifer and drummer for our regiment, but when you come to receive your rations, you will hear roast beef called, and we will now play that for you. Okay, it's fine. Actually,
I'll be right back.
yeah,
we can
we'll
play it in a
second.
little bit.
But there are six people to a mess, which is a tent. And then you'll pick a cook, and every day your cook will come and receive your rations, and that's some of the things. You can also receive cornmeal, rice, other various dry foods that we can keep on hand. We cook everything in our oven. Since we are here for at least the next 3 years, it is stable, and we can make bread with the flour we receive.
What's that hanging next to you?
This is actually beef that we have let out to dry.
Is it salted?
Yes. Yes.
What time do the cooks have to wake up to make all of food?
Actually, the quartermaster picks one head cook, and then the cook from your mess of 6 that you choose will come and collect your rations every day when roast beef is played.
How big are the portions?
Not very, well, it depends. Each person receives 1 pound of beef per day, and then you'll eat that, and that's what you get for the whole day, so it's not very big.
That is what we call field artillery piece. It's easier for you to remember as new recruits who might be on the artillery crew as a grasshopper. That's what we call it as soldiers. Now, the can over there is going to fire a 3-pound iron ball. Much like the iron ball you see over there, except for smaller. Those are, I believe, 6 and 8 or 9 pounders. They're much bigger. They're 9. Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you very much. Apparently I'm not good at math. So 3 pounds is what we're trying to go for. 3-pound iron ball connected with 12 ounces of gunpowder will propel that ball roughly 3/4 of a mile. That's our solid shot. It'll also fire something called canister, case shot / grape shot. What that all is smaller balls, usually musket-sized balls, or around that size, sometimes a little bigger than musket-sized balls, wrap it together in a cloth with gunpowder, weighing 3 pounds. What happens is, when you fire that gun at close range, that will rip open, spreading all of those musket balls all over the place. Picture like a giant shotgun that explodes, that shoots off those musket balls in a wide swath, hitting enemy targets up to 200 to even up to 250 yards away. So that's a big devastating effect. In fact, many accounts say that if a target was once in front of a can, blasted by canister, he is now a pick miss. So not really good for that man, I suppose. But the can is a field artillery piece. As you might notice, this is one of the smallest cans you've probably ever seen, right? Not bigger ones. They're normally in the Navy ships, the big warships, as well as fortifications and siege artillery. They cannot be dragged very far in battle because it's so heavy. So cans are going to use for field artillery, which means supporting the infantry as we march and as we fight battles, being more mobile. And this one is very good at that. In fact, it's the most abundant field artillery piece you're going to see in battle here. In fact, it takes one horse or a collection of a few men, usually 6 men, they can drag that can with the army, and it doesn't take too much more time. Also, if you're going through rough terrain, that can easily drag through rough terrain too. Strategically placed in the battlefield, of course, it can be quite effective. The solid shot that I was talking about, the iron bomb, is most effective for intimidation. You might be 3/4 of a mile away, and you're pretty far out of you're still in the range of the gun, but you're pretty far out of the accurate range. Still, you might see big balls coming at you that might scare you a bit, right? Especially if you see your neighbor's arm get taken off. That might be pretty scary. But even more scary is if you get close to it, the canister goes off. Shotgun blast. Spreading all that musket ball all over the place. So, we're now going to load and fire the recruits for you. First time we're going to fire we're going to do a dry fire. We're not going to actually fire it, but we're going to show you the entire process by the numbers, which you do on grade, to learn the procedure. Then on the battlefield, obviously, has to be done much faster. With a crew of 6 men, right now we have 4, including me. A crew of 6 men, you can get that gun loaded and fired in 20 seconds or 3 times a minute. So right now we have 4, so it'll be a little bit slower, but still you can see the battlefield procedure, which we'll do when we actually fire it, is much faster than the by the numbers procedure we're going to do now. So pay close attention, recruits, because you might find yourself on the cannon. Gunners, attention! Gunners, advance the worm. Sergeant on the left will have a long pole with a corkscrew on the top. It's called a worm. That main job of the worm is to advance down the barrel, hook on any debris from the last time the gun went off, and pull it out. So it cleans the can, essentially. Pull out the pace. So when he's hooking on the debris, he's going to yank it out of the cannon. All right. Then the next thing he does, he puts the worm on the ground because he is the one actually that's going to receive the charge, the cannonball, from me. So, advanced sponge. Sponge is dampened. It's a long wooden pole with a sponge on top. It's dampened, and the job of the sponge is to clean out the can some more, but also put out the hot embers that might still be burning down there. Then vent. Sergeant down behind takes his thumb, places on the vent hole, touch hole, you could also call it. The touch hole, if air gets through that touch hole while you're sponging up the piece, there's still hot burning embers down there. There can be problems when you load that with gunpowder. Gunners, sponge out piece. So you see the sponge going out right now? Last thing he does, you can hear the slap against the cannon barrel or the other side of the sponge, the knob. That alerts me, the sergeant, in case I was falling asleep, that the gun is now secure and ready to load. Gunners, handle the charge. In this case, I will charge here, not necessarily me, but charge here will advance the cannon bag, pour the charge of gunpowder in your projectile or canister into the wormer. Charge piece. Well, he then simply places that down the cannon barrel. Now to the top, just like the musket, we gotta ram it down. So, ram down, charge. Go ahead and put the worm down, Sergeant, sir. That's it. It can be fine.
Well ran.
Alright, so what happens, you ram down the charge, and the sergeant who's tending the vent is still tending it. He yells, well rammed. He feels the difference in pressure underneath his thumb, that he knows that projectile is right underneath his thumb. And right underneath the thumb should be the gunpowder. So the next step is going to be pick. He takes a long pick. Go ahead and show that up, Sergeant. A brass pick. And that pick is basically going to be picking out the touch hole, because right underneath it will be the gunpowder bag. You pick and open the gunpowder, expose the gunpowder if you will. He yells pick, so he alerts me again. Pick, prime. Now what he does is takes a priming cartridge, gunpowder, rips it open, and pours the gunpowder in the touch hole. With gunpowder exposed to the breech, gunpowder touch, we're going to pick the lint stock. I'll pick the worm up there, Sergeant. Now we're going to have, when the lint stock, a burning slow match, pushes against the priming powder, the can ignites. The can's about ready to go off then. So at this point, the gun can be aimed by the sergeant. You can yell, take aim, move the trails back and forth, this part of the cannon, and we need to go to the right or left. But also, there's a coin that sits underneath the bottom of the barrel that affects elevation, by the way, too. So, make ready. At this point, the gun is now ready to be fired. People want to go away from the cannon because there can be a lot of kickback on the cannon, especially with 12-ounce charge of gunpowder. And at this point, that's me. I knew I was doing something. There we go. I'll take the lint stock. And this burning slow match here, it burns about really slow. It's actually soaked with gunpowder. And it's advanced down to the trail. Give. We advance the casket bell and fire. Strike it against the pine powder. It'll go something like boom. Gun fired, we cover, and we're ready to go again. That's the by the numbers. That's a very slow process. To load the fire, that's 30 seconds. We need a much faster procedure. So the next thing we're going to do is the battlefield procedure, in which we'll do this a little faster. You see the difference in speed? It still won't be 20 seconds, we have a crew of 4 men. So this will be also, I'm going to tell you, it will be loud. We'll only fire a 3-ounce charge of gunpowder, but still, it will be loud. So when we tell you we're going to fire, you cover your ears. Not now. Gunners, 6 piece. When that command's given, the gun is wormed. Vent will be tended. And once it's done worming, the sponge will be advanced down the barrel. Again, the whole procedure is cleaning out the cannon. Very well. Audible sound. That's the other cannon is loaded. Very well. Coming about. Low piece. The loading procedure involves getting the charge, placing it down the barrel, and ramming it down the barrel.
Well ran.
When it's well rammed, pick and prime. Gunpowder charge is now going to be exposed by the brass pick put down the vent hole.
Pick.
And he yells pick, and then the next step is going to be to prime. He takes a cartridge of gunpowder, opens it up, and you'll see him pour the gunpowder on the touch hole.
Prime.
Very well. It's about ready to be fired from recruits, so you might want to cover your ears if you're timid noise, but you'll be getting used to the sound in your next 3-year enlistment. All right, here we go. Gunners, make ready. Give. Fire. Guns fire. Free cover. Gunners, set pace.
No, it freaking went off.